Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Captain Zephyr Claxon's gaze was heavy as he beheld Earth shimmering in the holographic display, a vibrant blue-green jewel suspended in the black abyss. How had his destiny led him to this juncture? The planet, humanity's home, appeared strangely unremarkable, hardly befitting its role as the galaxy's last beacon of hope. But then again, everything seemed dull when one was in command of a diplomatic vessel bearing the utterly uninspiring name, Moderate Concern. "Captain," Blitz Zapworth, his communications officer, announced, his voice laced with the eagerness of a condemned man facing a dentist. "We've received a response from Earth's government. They're proposing a rendezvous at a Starbucks." Zephyr's 4 eye stalks sank, mirroring his deepening despair. A mere 6 months prior, the Galactic Confederation's impenetrable defense grid had begun to crumble, catastrophically failing. The Zelthari Empire, renowned for their mastery of quantum mechanics, offered a placid suggestion of meditation. The Crystallon Collective, whose thoughts resonated across 11 dimensions, simply quivered in bewildered silence before retreating. Even the robotic hegemony, who never encountered a challenge they couldn't overcome with logic and superior computing power, essentially shrugged their metallic shoulders and advised a simple reboot. That left humanity, a species that had only grasped faster-than-light travel a mere 15 years ago, a species known for utilizing something called duct tape to mend their starships, and, most baffling of all, a species who had somehow convinced half the galaxy that they posed no threat, with diplomatic messages largely composed of feline videos and intricate instructions for creating something they called pizza. "Sir," Blitz continued, "they also inquired about our dietary requirements and if we had a preference for regular or decaf." Zephyr, with a sinking feeling, inquired, "What is decaf?" "I haven't the slightest idea, sir," Blitz replied, "but they seem exceedingly concerned about it." Zephyr activated the ship-wide intercom, his voice resonating with a forced sense of calm. "Attention, crew of the Moderate Concern. We are about to engage in first contact with humanity. Remember that these beings are considered underdeveloped. Their technological level was laughably behind. Their benchmarks for lactic acid were probably non-existent. Quantum stabilizers? Doubtful they even knew what those were. We will request an analysis of our defense systems," Zephyr stated, his voice betraying a sliver of desperation. "They will, of course, politely refuse, due to their primitive technology, and then move to Plan B." His engineer's hopeful gaze met his. "Plan B, Commander?" Zephyr felt a cold dread creep into his heart. In their desperation, they had clung to this meeting, never truly formulating an alternative. "We'll confront that obstacle when we arrive," he answered, borrowing an idiom lifted from intercepted human transmissions. At least their phrases possessed a strange, vivid charm, despite their utter lack of logic. The rendezvous occurred at what humans pompously labeled the International Space Station, apparently the pinnacle of their orbital construction. Zephyr had witnessed more advanced engineering on restroom fixtures, yet he suppressed his true thoughts as they docked, with a contraption resembling discarded metal containers, barely held together with sheer optimism. The first human to greet them was a robust, graying man in worn coveralls, relics from a bygone era. "Welcome to Earth," he declared, a disarming warmth radiating from him. "I'm Chief Engineer Murphy O'Malley. Forgive the modest accommodations. We're still adapting to interstellar guests. Care for some coffee?" Before Zephyr could even inquire about this coffee, Murphy was already dispensing a dark, steaming substance from a container that appeared dangerously unstable. "Now, I gather you're grappling with some technical setbacks, defense network issues. Am I correct? We've been observing your transmissions for a while now, you see. No offense, but when you're broadcasting unencrypted across half the galaxy, It's difficult to resist listening. Zephyr's eyes swiveled, bewildered. You were monitoring our communications. Indeed, for approximately 2 decades. Utterly captivating material. We especially appreciated the philosophical discussions regarding the potential of consciousness within a quantum framework. Our physicists had a remarkable time with that concept. Murphy extended a mug of the mysterious brew. Now, regarding this defense grid, of yours, is it? May we have a peek? Before Zephyr could answer, the airlock hissed open again, and a woman tumbled into the room, her hair a mess, her eyes alight with frantic curiosity. "Murphy!" she exclaimed, then turned to Zephyr. "Are these our new companions? I'm Dr. Petravolt, xenoarchaeologist, xenobiologist, and sometimes baker. I've brought refreshments." She shoved a tin of small, round objects toward them. "I wasn't certain of your dietary needs, so these are made with fundamental proteins and carbohydrates. They're chocolate chip, but using synthetic chocolate, just in case you're sensitive to cocoa. Are you allergic to cocoa? What about gluten? Do you even possess digestive systems?" Zephyr struggled to absorb the barrage, but Murphy was already plugged into their data port, her fingers flying across a device. "Murphy," Zephyr ventured cautiously, "precisely what are you doing?" "Just taking a quick look at your specs, darling," she replied blithely. "Don't fret. We aren't downloading anything private. Merely basic operational parameters. Power draw, system layout, quantum harmonics, dimensional integrity matrices, and your entertainment preferences." "We lack entertainment preferences," Zephyr said faintly. "Not anymore," Murphy declared with glee. "I've installed a basic media system on your ship. Nothing elaborate, simply access to about 40,000 human films, 8 million songs, and everything by something called The Office. Trust me, you'll appreciate it later." Petra, meanwhile, was circling Zephyr's equipment, scrutinizing it with almost manic interest. "Is this a quantum displacement field generator? It's simply breathtaking. I wonder if I might deconstruct it to understand its functionality." "Please, I'd rather you didn't," Zephyr pleaded, but she was already wielding a scanner that emitted alarming beeps. "Oh, this is incredible. Your technology displays such elegant simplicity. It is as if you have conquered complexities with almost ridiculously straightforward methods. And here we are, complicating everything for decades." She glanced up. "Murphy," he began, a knot forming in his stomach. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Without glancing up, lost in his task, Murphy casually responded, "Depends. Are you thinking we tear this whole setup apart and install some decent cup holders? I was leaning toward fortifying our defenses, but yeah, cup holders are a solid addition." 3 endless hours crept by, and Zephyr started to sympathize with those species that skipped diplomacy in favor of brute force. A simple request for technical help had spiraled into Murphy gutting their power systems, while Petra obsessively scanned everything, from the gravity generators to even the lavatories. "Okay," Murphy announced, his voice muffled from within the console's innards. "The good news is, that defense glitch, totally solvable. The bad news, whoever designed this was allergic to efficiency." Zephyr's apprehension mounted. "What are you implying?" Murphy's tone was blunt. "You're funneling everything through one single quantum processor when you have the capacity to distribute the load across parallel systems. And this power coupling," he gestured dismissively, "it's like trying to sprint while suffocating. And no offense, but your security is basically just hoping no one misbehaves." Petra, pausing her analysis, added, "Also, your defenses are all reactive. You wait to be hit, then you retaliate. That's quaint. We humans prefer a more forward-thinking approach." "Forward-thinking? How?" Zephyr asked, a deep unease settling in. Before either could elaborate, a ground-shaking rumble echoed from the docking bay. Zephyr stared in disbelief as a full human battle fleet materialized outside the viewport, emerging from hyperspace. Murphy, unfazed, casually remarked, "Oh, that would be Admiral Thunderbolt. I may have called him as soon as we arrived." "Hope you don't. I don't relish this," Zephyr confessed, "because when someone pleads for defensive aid, it often signals an impending assault." The imposing lead ship, nearly moon-sized, bristled with more armaments than the entire Confederation fleet. Before his eyes, it unleashed what seemed like thousands of smaller vessels, instantly weaving intricate defensive patterns around the station. "Murphy," Zephyr began slowly, "precisely how long have you been eavesdropping on our transmissions?" "Long enough to discern that 3 hostile factions have been angling aggressively towards Confederation space these past months," Murphy countered. "The Devourer's mass ships near the Rim, the Shadow Collective tests your defenses, and the Void Cult. Let's not even begin to fathom their dark machinations." Petra interjected, eyes gleaming. "Indeed. We've traced their hyperspace jumps. Their technology is fascinating, a delicate elegance far surpassing our own brute force, FTL." Suddenly, the comms crackled with a new voice. "This is Admiral Rex Thunderbolt of the Earth Defense Force requesting permission to board. And I've brought sandwiches." Zephyr's universe twisted further into the surreal. "You have an admiral named Rex Thunderbolt?" "Technically, Robert Thompson," Murphy conceded, "but he legally adopted the name after one too many action flicks. Rest assured, he's mostly capable." The admiral, despite his outlandish title, turned out to be a relatively average human, save for his uniform. It was a sartorial catastrophe, clearly envisioned by someone utterly ignorant of military dress, yet convinced of the power of gleaming buttons. "Captain Claxon!" he bellowed, somehow turning a handshake into a full-blown military maneuver. "Welcome to our solar system. I understand you're facing some pest control issues?" "Pest problems?" Zephyr repeated, bewildered. "Weekly alien attacks threatened our very existence, these creatures, considered mere pests by Earth. But fear not, we were masters of pest control." By day's end, Zephyr, fueled by enough coffee to energize a planet, finally grasped the human tendency to vibrate on a different frequency. Requesting their help felt less like hiring assistance and more like initiating a cataclysmic event. Murphy hadn't just repaired our defenses, he'd interwoven them with Earth's early alert system, which, astonishingly, comprised of surveillance satellites, deep space monitors, and an entity called Bob's Amateur Radio Network, spanning galaxies. "Redundancy is key," Murphy declared as he installed a beverage dispenser on the bridge. "If one system fails, 17 are ready. And if all 18 fail, you have bigger concerns." Simultaneously, Petra, unasked, was enhancing our ship. The life support system now offered aromatherapy enhancements. The computer received emotional intelligence subroutines, and the replicators now made human dishes, including ingredients like love and a pinch of hope. Zephyr questioned, "I don't see the need for so many cup holders," as Murphy installed the 47th drink-related innovation. Murphy, with unshakable confidence, responded, "Trust me, you will. A human saying states, 'The difference between a good ship and a great ship is where you put the cup holders.'" We don't actually say that, but we should. Admiral Thunderbolt somehow transformed simple security detail into a grand military exhibition. His fleet had already, defensive measures were in place around the space station, yet proactive reconnaissance missions into nearby systems had already commenced. Admiral Zephyr remarked during their increasingly bizarre briefings, "Your vessels are actively engaged in military maneuvers within the acknowledged territories of 17 distinct species. No need to be concerned, Captain. We're simply extending a friendly greeting, perhaps inquiring about their armed forces, fleet deployments, and strategies for asserting dominance. Standard diplomatic niceties. Wouldn't you agree? That wasn't diplomacy. It was veiled espionage. That all hinges on perspective. We perceive it as being sociable, while they are undoubtedly perplexed as to why their ship movements are now transparent to us, he explained. Simultaneously, Petra unveiled that multiple alien systems relied upon concepts humans had only theorized. "This is astonishing," she proclaimed, exhibiting what was once their navigational console. "You've successfully engineered a self-sustaining temporal field projector. Can you grasp the implications for causality?" A weary Zephyr replied, "It means we can safely navigate hyperspace without getting disoriented." Petra exclaimed, "But the implications are staggering. If we can sustain temporal fields, we can potentially generate localized time dilation effects. Imagine the defensive capabilities. We could decelerate incoming projectiles, accelerate our reactions, perhaps even construct temporal shields." Zephyr muttered to Murphy, "Please refrain from fueling her imagination further." Murphy beamed. "Far too late. She's initiated something she's calling chronological augmentation." I could clarify, but I suspect we're unprepared for such an exchange. On the second day, as Zephyr wrestled with the ship's computer offering unsolicited culinary advice, the underlying reality began to materialize. He discovered Murphy within the repurposed engine chamber, setting up what resembled a miniature manufacturing facility. "Murphy," he began. Casually, Murphy inquired, "So tell me, what exactly are you constructing?" Zephyr responded smoothly, "Oh, merely a small fabrication center. Nothing extravagant, just sufficient capacity for producing replacement components, munitions, and, of course, coffee. The absolute necessities, you understand." Murphy paused from his task, tilting his head. "Captain, I hope you won't mind me asking something." Zephyr chuckled. "At this juncture, why would I? What makes you think it took your group so long to reach out to us?" Zephyr pondered this, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Well, you are, comparatively, a less advanced civilization. Your technological capabilities are limited. Your societal structures are rather disorganized, and you've yet to discover faster-than-light communication." Murphy acknowledged this with a nod. "Precisely what we anticipated you'd believe. The thing is, though, we've anticipated this discussion for roughly a decade and a half. Prepared for which discussion?" Zephyr raised an eyebrow. "The one where someone from the larger galactic community finally requires our assistance with a significant undertaking." Murphy gestured outwards toward the viewport, where Admiral Thunderbolt's fleet was engaged in maneuvers that resembled military exercises. "You see, ever since we unlocked FTL travel, we've been diligently monitoring galactic transmissions, not merely out of curiosity, though we possess our share of that, but out of a profound desire to grasp the context we were stepping into. And we swiftly discovered that most galactic civilizations tackle issues by identifying the most refined, optimized solution. You strive for the absolute minimum expenditure of resources needed to attain the desired outcome." Zephyr concurred with a nod. "That is, fundamentally, logical." "Certainly," Murphy replied, a glint in his eyes. "However, humans simply don't operate that way. When we encounter a challenge, our ambition extends far beyond merely resolving it. We aspire to resolve it so comprehensively that its recurrence becomes unimaginable. To vanquish it so thoroughly that we inadvertently address a dozen other unforeseen complications in the process." Murphy rose, activating a holographic projection showcasing alterations to their defensive network. "Your original implementation was engineered to fend off attacking vessels. Our adaptation is crafted to not only repel them, but also to analyze their technology, pinpoint their origin coordinates, assess their strategic strengths, and instantly deploy diplomatic delegations to arrange their surrender before they even recognize they're under attack. Now they're facing an all-out assault, a brutal display that seemed utterly disproportionate. "That," came the stark reply, "is precisely the idea. Humanity doesn't deal in measured responses. We favor overwhelming force. Your defense network faltered because it was merely adequate. Ours is crafted to be so formidable, it will force any potential aggressor to seriously question their life choices." Just then, Petra materialized, holding what looked like a coffee mug, radiating an inner luminescence. "Captain, perfect timing," she announced. "I've been meticulously studying your crew's physiological response to caffeine, and I believe I've formulated a blend exquisitely tailored to your species' neurochemistry." She offered him the mug. "It provides a gentle boost, sharpens cognitive skills, and I've incorporated elements to accelerate your natural healing. Plus, it emulates what humans call chocolate mint, a flavor our research suggests has universal appeal." Zephyr cautiously sampled the brew. He had to concede. It was quite possibly the most delectable thing he'd ever encountered. "This is exceptional," he admitted. "I'm so pleased you approve. I've also configured your food synthesizers to dispense it automatically. And perhaps I've made a few other subtle upgrades to your meal options. Nothing drastic, merely vitamin enhancements and flavor intensifiers designed to bolster your overall vitality." "You've been boosting our health?" Zephyr inquired. "Assuredly," Petra responded. "Humans operate on the premise that contented, robust allies are more effective allies. Thus, we've been optimizing your vessel's environment for peak crew performance. Refined lighting, superior air filtration, enhanced nourishment, and what we term environmental psychology adaptations." Murphy chimed in with a knowing nod. "She's also been reverse engineering your technology to discover ways to improve our own designs. A balanced exchange, truly. We assist you, you assist us. Mutual benefit." "And Admiral Thunderbolt," she continued, "the Admiral is making certain that any being contemplating aggression against the Confederation understands that they would also be inviting the wrath of Earth. A powerful deterrent." The results spoke for themselves. 7 days later, Zephyr surveyed the bridge of the vessel. Now barely recognizable, the Solve defense grid had become, in Admiral Thunderbolt's words, the most absurdly robust defense system in the galaxy. "Message from the High Council, Captain," Blitz announced. "They're questioning how we overhauled the grid so rapidly." "Tell them humans assisted," Zephyr responded, savoring his coffee from an endlessly refilling mug. "And sir, the human warships now guarding our systems?" Blitz added. "The warranty includes them." Zephyr glimpsed Murphy's burgeoning project through the viewport. A mere repair dock had become a hybrid space station and small city. Murphy had simply stated, "Good neighbors." Dr. Petrovolt's research triggered technological leaps already spreading across the Confederation. Coffee intake rose tenfold, paralleled by a similar jump in productivity. When asked about the connection, she merely quipped, "Caffeine delivers." Admiral Thunderbolt had skillfully forged a permanent alliance from temporary security. The Human Defense Force was now an official arm of the Confederation's military, meaning any aggressor would face a species that embraced warfare with the same unyielding tenacity they applied to everything. With exuberant, almost reckless abandon, Sir Flux Capacitor proclaimed, "The humans are petitioning to establish an enhancement nexus on our very planet." "What purpose does this thing serve?" Zephyr inquired, a trace of apprehension coloring his tone, having become cautious of human interpretations. "Their pitch suggests it will elevate our standard of living, supercharge our technology, and supply continuous resources for advancement and expansion. Furthermore, they're offering to overhaul our transportation, refine our communications, and revamp our economic foundations." Zephyr's eyes fluttered shut. Scarcely a week had passed since humanity transitioned from obscure galactic bystanders to integral architects within the Confederation's framework. They had resolved the defense grid conundrum, revolutionized spacecraft performance, introduced a subtly habit-forming yet remarkably beneficial beverage, and solidified a military alliance rendering the Confederation virtually invincible. "Sir," Blitz urged gently. "Grant them access," Zephyr affirmed, "and inquire if they harbor further innovative concepts." "A catalog already exists, sir. An extensive one." Zephyr's eyes snapped open, studying the datapad presented by Blitz. The inventory spanned from a unified galactic network and streamlined coffee provision to enhanced cross-species dialogue and optimized planetary defenses. A postscript lay at the list's end. "These are merely initial suggestions. We are incubating truly revolutionary notions." A foreboding sensation washed over Zephyr, a premonition that the Galactic Confederation was on the precipice of comprehending the scope of human revolution. Still, their defense grid had never functioned so flawlessly. Their ships had never been so agile, and Zephyr had never felt so alive. The voice of Captain Murphy rasped over the comms. "We've been contemplating your faster-than-light drive architecture. Would you permit us to examine it more closely?" Zephyr gazed at the burgeoning space station, the imposing human fleet, and the continuous influx of vessels seeking what many were now calling the Human Upgrade Initiative. A faint smile touched his lips. "Be my guest," he responded, lifting his perpetually full coffee mug in a gesture of welcome. Humanity has arrived. They had only asked for assistance, after all, but the humans, in their uniquely expansive way, viewed that request as an invitation to revolutionize galactic civilization. It was, Zephyr mused, a profoundly human response.